if you can hold these 15 tips, these 15 points in your mind as you draw architecture, whether it's a humble cottage or whether it's a grand structure such as the National Gallery in Berlin, which you're watching me draw now, it will certainly help your drawings, your architecture, to capture a strong sense of realism. 15, so we'll move briskly through them. The first is look for any perspective angles. Now, these are the angles where lines that are horizontal in life, because of the angle we're viewing the building from, are at an angle. And particularly pay attention to the major lines, and particularly the highest ones, the ones at the most extreme angle in both directions, because these will be the lines that will be hardest to draw accurately and need particularly careful observation when we do draw, because if we don't get them right, we'll be tempted to perhaps draw them just parallel to the lines underneath, instead of slightly increasing the angle at each line as it moves upwards. Besides introduce a sense of something not being quite right, it's also going to take away some of the drama, some of the visual drama as I think of it, because extreme angles do add a great deal of interest to what we're looking at. Now, the second tip is find eye level. Now, eye level is the level of the eyes looking at this building, but if we're drawing from a photo, it's the level of the camera. Now, he talked about these horizontal lines that have angles, so in this case, it's that right side of the building that we just see very obliquely. At eye level, at the point where the camera is, those lines aren't angled, but it's actually a horizontal line. Now, there may not actually be a line in our building, in the architecture, but it's where a line would be. And this is really handy to work out, because from above that line, the angles start to steadily increase in one direction, and below that line, they start to decrease in the other. Now, often, if we're on the ground, there's a lot more angles increasing above eye level than below. But if we're in a building looking across at another tall building, there might be the same number of angles in each direction. So it just depends on where eye level is. But again, careful observation at the start, working out as best we can see where the level of the camera would be when it took the photo, can help us then observe the angles more accurately. The third point is what I think of as horizontal alignment. Now, in architecture, there are a lot of details that line up horizontally. So they might be the tops or the bottoms of windows lining up, and we need to make sure that when we draw them, we do line them up horizontally right the way across. So if we're looking directly at a building, then the windows, tops and bottoms of the windows would all line up in horizontal lines. If these windows are on a wall that's moving away from us and it's affected by these perspective angles, then the tops of all those windows and the bottom of all those windows and other lines, such as, say, any bars between parts of the window, they all need to line up on the horizontal angled line that's created by that perspective. So before we start to draw, having a good look at our reference and working out what lines up is important. It may be something such as, say, a series of decorative stone urns along the top of a building. The very tops of those urns will line up on a perspective angle. And so that is something we need to pay attention to, particularly because the furthest urn will end up being quite a bit smaller in all likelihood than the closest one. The fourth point, and this is really important, and I see this done often surprisingly badly because it's actually not hard to do correctly, is making sure that our vertical lines are vertical. Unless we're trying to draw three-point perspective or some other deliberate visual distortion, we want to make sure that all the vertical lines actually are vertical. It's easy to start the lines becoming more sloping as they move towards one of the sides of our paper, especially if we're in a bad habit of resting on our hand as we draw, instead of moving our whole arm and drawing from our shoulder, which does make it easier to ensure vertical lines when we want them. The fifth point is center points. And this is particularly important if we're drawing towers or spires or anything where, in a sense, different shapes are stacked on top of each other. Any vertical structure in this sense. We want to make sure, whether it's a spire or a tower or a cupola or a chimney or whatever it is, that all the stacked elements, if they're on a center line in the architecture, that in our drawing they each look as though they're centered on the shape beneath. The sixth point is pay attention to foreshortening. Now, foreshortening is the way as a building moves away from us, so as a wall that slopes away from us because of the angle we're looking at it, that as it gets further away, visually it seems to get narrower and narrower as it moves further away. It's really important to have a good look at what that impacts or how that impacts the details on that wall. So if there are, say, columns that are equally spaced, how close together and how much narrower are they at the end, at the further point of the wall than the closest point of the wall? And I find a really helpful way to do this is to compare the actual gap, the horizontal gap on the paper between the last two columns and the first two columns. Sometimes there might actually be no gap at all, but the columns visually start to overlap. And so working that out is a really, before we start to draw anything, especially when we're drawing ink, is a great way to do it accurately. If there are windows or gaps between windows, they need to become narrower too as the windows move further away. The seventh point is what I call depth lines. If we have details such as windows that are set back from the plane of the wall, then we need to actually make sure we do a line that creates that depth. If we just draw the shape, the size of the window, it can end up looking like it's really just being drawn on to the flat surface of the wall. We need to get any indications of depth, whether it's the wall itself or whether it's beading for the window, as much as the size will allow us. We need to put that depth line in to create a sense of 3 dimensions. And this also gives us a place where we can put shadows or shade if appropriate. The eighth point is scale. Now, everything we have in our scene must be consistent for the size it is. So if I have a building and I have a person next to the building, I need to make sure the person could actually walk into any doors that are there and not be too tall or too small. If there are cars parked in the street outside, the cars need to look the right size for the building. This is really important. The ninth point is the effective distance. Now, if we have a really long building and we're looking down the length of a long building, as it gets further away, we're going to see it less clearly because it's further away. We're looking through more atmosphere. It affects the sharpness of the lines, of the details, and so forth. So we want to perhaps draw with a lighter touch, a thinner line, and drawing less detail if it's a long building in the further part. Sometimes we can even change to a finer pen to help us achieve this. 10th point, if we have cornices or eaves, so really anything overhanging, and we're looking partly up at the building, then we need to actually include, it's a bit like a depth line, but horizontally. We need to include a line that shows the depth of these overhangs. These are the sorts of details that really make something look three-dimensional. And the higher up we're looking, the further away from eye level we look up, then the more of these overhangs we will see, the deeper we will need to draw them. The 11th point is sculptures. A lot of grand architecture has figures, carved figures decoratively used. These can be very challenging to add to an architectural drawing because they're such a different subject and we may not be familiar drawing them, and yet we can't leave them off. They might be pedimental sculptures or they might be freestanding sculptures. What I find helpful is to not think of them as figures, not try to draw figures, try to see them as just lines that converge in certain parts and various shapes assembled together. And I simply try and capture the main lines, the main perhaps tension points of where fabric is gathered, perhaps where elbows and knees are, and particularly not to draw the head too large. That's something that I see as a very common problem. I always draw the head smaller than I think they're going to be. That usually makes them the right size then. If there's lettering, say National Library carved into one of the entablatures, find count all the letters, including spaces. Find the center letter or space, and then find the center of where that inscription goes, and start with the center letters and then move outwards left and right. And that way we get the scale correct across whatever space it's meant to be on. And remember perspective distortion as well. If we're not looking straight on, we need to allow for the fact that the letters will get shorter and thinner as they move further away from us. I find it helpful to imagine each letter sitting in a box that's drawn correctly for the perspective, and I make the letter fit that. Point 13, choose the best pen size carefully for the amount of detail you're going to want to draw. Using a pen, particularly that's too thick, can mean there's so much blackness that it's hard to actually see what we've drawn in the end. In a sense, we can't see the wood for the trees. So we don't want to have a building where we can't see the building because there's so many black lines on the paper. Point number 14, if it's a building that's made of bricks or large blocks of stones, has tiles, there's pavers or whatever, then don't try and draw them all. It's going to be pretty impossible. And even if you have the patience to draw them all, it's going to overwhelm the drawing. The ink will overwhelm the drawing. So just suggest some of them. Don't let these lines even be too heavy, and be really careful with the scale. If it's say a brick house, count the number of rows of bricks there are in the length of a window, and then look at your window in the drawing and think, well, how large do the bricks have to be to have that many bricks in this space? That's the size of the bricks I have to draw. And for the vertical lines that we draw for the bricks, make sure they're all very straightly vertical. I often see these vertical brick lines slanting, and that really distorts the feel of a nice straight wall. And the 15th point is put as much effort as possible into what I call the support acts. Now, I think of a drawing as having the star. In the case of this drawing you're watching me draw now, it's the National Gallery in Berlin in the background. But the support acts are everything that's not that grand structure. So it's this tree I'm drawing now, it's the people, it's the hedges, it's the indications of the roadway and the gutters and so forth. These things need to be drawn with as much care, or in some ways, as in this case, with even more detail and a stronger finish because they're closer. So while they're not the main event, I need the support acts to be drawn just as well as I draw the main event so that they don't detract. If we see a play and there's a support actor who's terrible, at the end, we'll probably just remember how terrible that support actor was, no matter how good the main character was. And it's the same with our drawings. We don't want a really nicely drawn building to be distracted by a poorly drawn tree next to it. Everything has to have the same intention and care. It doesn't mean we draw it necessarily the same way or with the same detail, but with the same care. So, what do you think? Think these points are going to set you up for drawing grand architecture or simple architecture? And please hit the like button if you found even some of these points helpful. That will really help me out. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. So why not give architecture a go? I have a playlist on drawing architecture if you're interested in more on this, perhaps these points in more detail. But hey, in the end, whatever you draw, whatever points you do or don't use to draw them, however they turn out, make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.